Alright, so moving into the toxicity, which is probably the more interesting portion of it. I get very excited about the nutrient portion, but I think the toxicity is why most of you are here to look at that. So in addition to tracking nutrient content across the course of the season, we tested for alkaloid content, which is that toxin that causes the fescue-related problems. And this is our graph here, showing the alkaloid content across the season. And this is, again, our average fescue pasture. There was variability, and we'll get into a little bit of that. But this is our average fescue pasture. And the first thing you notice is very soon after green up, that plant production of alkaloids, or that fungal production of alkaloids, starts to spike pretty quickly. And it stays high throughout the entire season. There's some fluctuation in here. We know this spike probably correlates with, or it did correlate with early heading period. Some of this drop here was due to a drought that we had in late summer, and then this increase in fall was due to active regrowth of that plant going into the fall. But those fluctuations aren't quite as important because they're all very, very high. There's a lot of debate about at what level we start seeing animal issues, and there's a lot of debate about that, but 500 parts per billion would kind of be the area that most people would agree on, and maybe someone can debate about that a little bit later, but let's just pick that as our number, and you can see that our toxicity, our alkaloid content is very, very high. Now this is again, I want to reiterate, this is fescue only. So if you've got pastures that are 50-50 fescue and clover, for example, you can extrapolate that things would be a little bit different. So this was our average. These black dots represent all of the individual sample points or samples that we took. So for example, I know that this dot right here is McCormick Farm rotationally grazed pasture on October 17th. So each one of these points is an individual sample. And you can see how much variation there is there. I will show you in a minute some individual farms, and some of them are going to track very high, some of them are going to track very low. I don't think that is the main point to take home. I think the point to take home is that they're all very high. They all have quite the potential to cause problems. So what affects the alkaloid content of that pasture? There's certainly a plant genetic component. Chris, I think that's what you've done a lot of work on in the past. Is that right? Yeah. So there's variability there with the fescue plants, just like with any other organism. There's temperature and moisture, nitrogen fertility. The endophyte is a live organism within that fescue plant, and when that fescue plant is doing well, that endophyte is going to do well. So what we found, and what I'll show you, is that anything that causes that plant to thrive is going to cause that endophyte to thrive, and we're going to see increased alkaloid content as a result. Lastly, and certainly there's many, many more factors here. These are the main ones. Plant maturity plays a big role. We know that alkaloids concentrate in the seed heads, so if you've got seed heads out there, there's certainly potential animals could be eating them, and they're going to get a real heavy dose of toxins. So the first conclusion is that our fescue is hot. It's very hot.